Are you at the end of your crochet project and don't know how to fasten off and finish your work? I'm going to show you in this quick crochet tutorial. So if you get to the end of a project, what you need to do is slip stitch to whatever it tells you to. So I've got my moss stitch granny square here, and to slip stitch to finish off this square, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the very first stitch of the round. So I insert my hook, I yarn over, I pull through that stitch and through the loop on my hook, and that's what we call slip stitching it together. Then I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to cut my granny square free from my yarn, and I'm going to leave myself a good yarn tail here, about 5 to 6 inches of a yarn tail. Now what I need to do is I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through that loop on my hook, and I'm going to keep pulling my yarn tail all the way through, and then I'm going to tighten this up. Now I'm going to bring in my yarn needle and I'm going to put my yarn onto the yarn needle, and then I'm going to weave in my ends. Now there's a lot of different ways to do this. I like to go a couple of different directions when I'm weaving in, so I'm going to go first off down so I can get into the meat of this granny square. I'm going to thread my yarn needle carefully through stitches over. I like to kind of go a couple of different directions. I'm going to come down and then I'm going to go back this way, working my yarn through there. Take my yarn needle off, and then I like to just clip that yarn tail off. And then it'll hide that yarn and it's hidden in there and we're ready to go. It's been finished and fastened off. So that's what I would do with something like this. Let me show you a different version here. So it really doesn't matter what the project. Let's say I had to work my last stitch here and I was done with this little bobble stitch swatch. Same idea. I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to cut my yarn free. Now I've got my yarn tail about 5 or 6 inches in length. You want enough that you can get your yarn needle onto it and weave it in. Then what we do is we fasten off. Notice with a square like this, where I'm not closing around, I simply just stop at the end of the stitches, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through the loop on my hook, pull my yarn tail all the way through, and I'm going to pull this tight. Same idea, I'm going to bring in my yarn needle, I'm going to thread it onto my yarn needle, and then I'm going to simply weave in my ends, however works best for you. Again, I like to go kind of a couple of different directions. I'll weave this way, and then maybe I'll kind of come down and weave this way. Kind of just find whatever works best for you. I like to do a little bit extra so that way my yarn tails don't come out when I wash it or use it. And then I clip off my yarn tail, and I've got a completed project where my ends have been woven in. I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. If you need more crochet tutorials, you could check out my blog, hopecornerfarm.com, or my YouTube channel, Hope Corner Farm Crochet, where I have a lot of different crochet tutorials. And I hope you have a wonderful day.